What a pleasure. Let me taste this.
Who do you think is the winner?
Hello viewers and welcome to Nigeria Diaspora Television. I am Adetunji Omotola. After a break from a regular broadcast, which has seen NDTV visit Lagos back home, what a great time we had. Over the next two programs, we'll bring you those stories, as well as some special videos. We hope you enjoyed the individual videos we posted over the past few weeks. Now for some news. According to Punch newspapers, the Nigerian economy seems to have emerged out of its first recession in 25 years. GDP has returned to positive growth, 0.55% year-on-year, as stated by the National Bureau of Statistics. Great news indeed. Similarly, the continent's second largest economy, South Africa, has also announced that it is out of the technical recession, with a 2.5% growth shown in the second quarter of 2017. Back home, the chairman of PACAC, the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, said that the body will push for the prosecution of bank chiefs who have purportedly connived with looters who had moved and hidden stolen funds. Professor Hitze Sage said the monstrous epidemic of high-profile corruption could not have occurred without their collusion. Following in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, which obliterated some parts of Texas, the state of Texas, in the United States, we now have another hurricane called Hurricane Irma, which is about to hit Florida, southern Florida, and it's been categorized, it's been placed as a Category 5 hurricane. And we've seen signs of people going to the garage. There's some shortages of gas, and people are fleeing the cities in Florida, especially in Miami. It is very devastating indeed to see people running away from their homes as a result of the impending disaster which is looming. When NDTV visited Lagos, Nigeria, we had the opportunity to go and visit three Nigerian businessmen who were members of the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce at a place in Onikon. These businessmen are involved in property development and also architecture. They have a firm that deals with estate valuation, and they have some of the biggest clients in Nigeria. And it was quite interesting to be able to pose questions to them about Nigeria-South Africa business and what was their take on who is doing what in the business firmament of the two countries. Mr. Futai, how long have you been in the real estate business?
Over 20 years now.
Over 20 years. And how are you coping with the recession?
Well, we're just trying to be creative, looking for new markets and new niches, and doing things different way, you know, customer focused. You know, everything you do now, customer is king. There's a customer sovereignty now, so we go for what they need, and we'll give them what they want, and that's the only way to survive now. We believe when things get better, other opportunities will really unfold. But for now, everybody's just trying to survive the current, you know, going with the current. Yeah.
Mr. Jones, the last time we saw in Johannesburg, you came for the lavish, was it the 10-year anniversary of the chamber? And then we were able to learn more about the Nigeria-South Africa chamber. Now, one of the things that we found with the new consul general in town is actually quite effective. But the question I posed to him last week Saturday was that we are keen to see more Nigerian-owned businesses coming into South Africa in the same way, because today we've seen KFC, we've seen Spar, we've seen Chicken Republic, we've seen Stanbic. We know Chicken Republic came out of Chicken Licken in South Africa. How are you going to respond to that as a Nigerian successful businessman?
As regards Nigerians' enterprise establishing in South Africa, I think we are willing, and the collaborative network is in the making. And to start with, there's a relationship of exchange of idea, visit, getting acquainted with the environment over there. But the key thing here is, what kind of business do we bring to South Africa that will serve needs or products that is new to the environment? And that is unlimited, basically. But key to this is that the friendliness of doing business in South Africa is what I still think, to an extent, is a challenge. And how do I mean? How much control do you have on your capital? How safe is you and your foreigners coming into South Africa to work? I think that's what I still see as a challenge as of today. But in terms of market, there are opportunities everywhere around the world. It's a matter of diversity. We see quite a number of areas of opportunity in service and products that you can bring into South Africa, and we are sure of the market. Areas where there are supply gaps, we have quite a number of things that can be introduced into South Africa, and we know that the economy can support it. But key challenge is the security of people as a diaspora coming to South African environment is one. Then how much control, what is my supreme power on my capital, is still an area that we don't see it as. There's no guarantee, there's no assurance yet.
We've seen the success of Aliko Dangote going into various markets. Of course, some of the challenges that Aliko has had, for example, in Mtwara, in Tanzania, was how to be able to get gas. In fact, he was promised gas for his cement plant, and then he couldn't get the gas, and he wanted to bring in South African coal, but the Tanzanians wanted to protect their coal, and then he decided to walk away. I believe he's now back there. Now, given the fact that, for example, there's almost about 500,000 Nigerians in South Africa, and the cost of gari, for example, the cost of egusi, ukazi, and so on is very punitive, very prohibitive. Do you feel, as a businessman, don't you see that there's a gap there for us to go and harness places like Mpumalanga or Durban that has similar terrain, where they say that you can actually grow gari there? How do you respond to that?
Interestingly, we are even doing a study on food technology with my wife, who is a chemical engineer. This economic environment has opened up opportunities for local processing and, of course, exportation of these food items to other countries. Basically, once we have the right environment and soil, I'm sure we should be able to process plants and then process these food items, targeting our local community in South Africa. Something that has always been interesting is that Nigerians in South Africa want to have plantain brought to them. South Africans want to eat our plantain, but we've had a lot of trade issues around plantain. I think it's something that the federal government should look into and see areas where they can collaborate with the South African government to allow some of these food items to be cultivated and processed in the country, because we allow their own foodstuffs to come in here. So there's no reason why we shouldn't have the same reciprocal treatment for our food items in South Africa. It's a very good idea, and I'm sure it will do well for both countries.
Nigeria is a country that has great minds, and we believe, especially as Nigeria Diaspora Television, that all Nigerians, especially those who are in diaspora, need to begin to work closely with their brothers and sisters back home, because 17 million people outside Nigeria is too big a number, especially as a developing country. Once we had finished interviewing the three Nigerian businessmen, they then proceeded to invite us to lunch at the place called 100 Hours on Awolowo Road. It's actually number 100. We're sitting at a restaurant called 100 Hours on 100 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. And we're about to commence the destruction of Amala and Gbegiri and Ewedu with croaker fish and assorted meats. And in front of me is a bottle of Gulda, which is my favorite beer in Nigeria. I used to drink 10 bottles of this when I was in university, and that's why I didn't get a first class. But anyway, the bottle has just been brought out of prison, and the ice on the bottle suggests this bottle is less than 0 degrees, probably about -2 degrees, or even less than that. But it's not frozen in the bottle, but the ice is around the bottle. What a pleasure. Let me taste this. And this 100 Hours has a specialty, which is Amala and Gbegiri. And I was quite blown away because that was the first time in my entire life that I'd eaten Amala with a spoon. And when I asked why the spoon, they said because Amala is normally piping hot, that they decided to use a spoon to lift the Amala out of the bowl. And the proprietress was very welcoming, very friendly, and we also proceeded to have a few words with her as well to get her views on how she was coping with running a business in Lagos, the megalopolis called Lagos.
When you talk about 100 Hours, people are talking about Amala, they're talking about Gbegiri and Ewedu, and they're talking about 24 hours food place, a restaurant, where about you can walk in 2 a.m. and have Amala, hot pipe hot Amala, you know?
So what's your average spend? So if 4 people come for lunch,
Yeah.
and they have their beers, and they have their water, and they have their snails, and they have their 4 euro, what would be the average table spend
that's huge.
for our foreign clientele?
Okay.
People coming from Diaspora, 10,000 naira, 20,000
For
naira.
4 people,
For 4 people, eating very well.
I think
And pepper soup and so on.
I would say like 20,000.
20,000.
20,000 on meals and beers.
Okay. So that's about
that's
$50,
what it is, yes.
somewhere there.
That's
So
it.
$50 for a table of 4, that's really, really affordable. So we look forward to coming again, and we've also discovered a delicacy of sorts, plantain chips, which we're going to come and purchase via you, because we love plantain and we love everything to do with plantain, whether it's fried plantain or mosa or plantain chips or even boli. So yeah, we really are happy to be here, and thank you, Madam Gbemisola, for being such a great host. And yeah, we're going to go and tell everyone about 100 Hours in South Africa.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to South Africa, we were lucky a few days ago to be able to cover Miss Africa Continent, a beauty pageant which brings all the Miss Africas, or rather country beauty queens together in one location. And we asked the organizers why Miss Africa Continent, and they said to us that it is very important that national beauty queens in various African countries should come together to contest for a crown that is unique to Africa, as opposed to going to do just Miss World or Miss Universe, which is not a continental crown. And we proceeded to cover the event in full, and it is such a wonderful event to behold.
Just make your body magical. I've been waiting for the day we grow. Let's get, let's go. Glory, I know. Magic, just the right know. Magic, not as I know. We're the kids and the rest of I know. We run the city, yo. We run the country, yo. Let's get, let's go. Glory, I know. Magic, just the right know. Magic, not as I know. All right.
Miss Africa 2017 second princess goes to Miss Miss Liberia. Who do you think is the winner? Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Miss Africa 2017.
Congratulations, Miss Guinea, one more time, ladies and gentlemen. African Queen. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Miss Guinea. Miss Africa 2017 is Miss Guinea.
I feel very good and very happy to win this competition. You know, it was a big competition for me to find all the girls around the world, around Africa. It is not a small competition for me. That I'm very happy to win this for my people from Guinea and for people from Africa.
And so this brings us to the end of our bulletin and also our news coverage for this specific edition. So you should look forward to our next edition, which will include great footage of Lekki Peninsula and also the Queen's Drive, the waterways of Lagos. And also you'll be able to salivate around content that relates to our trip to my hometown, Ijebu-Ode, where we were able to pay homage to my grandmother, who is 101 years old, Alaja Muino Gamu. Until next time, it's goodbye, and I'll say Odabo, Kachifo, Segobe.